one place where we thought we would never experience this is the U.S. goddamn states. So I would love more accuracy of information, as they say they're the most transparent administration, which is the biggest lie told on American soil, I believe. It is the least transparent, it is the most corrupt, it is the one administration I have seen lie to us, even though we have an accurate documentation of their lies, even if we are witnesses to the lies.
Hey, welcome back to Freedom Insight. Today, 𝐃𝐢𝐬𝐤𝐿 says Representative Ilhan Omar is under pressure after a judge ordered an arrest tied to a Minnesota fraud scandal. And normal people should care because it's your tax money and public trust. Look, she's on video calling America the U.S. goddamn states, then accusing the Trump administration of being least transparent and most corrupt. The Post also alleges investigators are zeroing in on political allies. She insists there's accurate documentation and that we are witnesses to the lies. If this becomes a cover-up, where's the truth headed next? Right now, a Minnesota scandal story is colliding with national politics in the ugliest way. Alleged fraud, immigration fights, and the question of whether the system protects the politically connected. Here's the simple version. People say federal and state programs meant to help kids and families were abused for cash, and taxpayers got stuck with the bill. At the same time, leaders on the left are pushing to weaken immigration enforcement, while critics say Minnesota became a magnet for scams. Ilhan Omar is at the center of the argument because her name keeps showing up in the rhetoric, the outrage, and the online accusations. And now you're seeing headlines about judges, verdicts, and even arrest talk. If you're a normal working person, you care because stolen money is your money, and a two-tier system wrecks trust fast. Before we go anywhere, I want you to see what's being pushed around social media, because this is part of how the narrative is being built. That post is a serious accusation, but it's still an accusation from an online account, not a court ruling, not a verified finding in what you've provided here. The point is the temperature. People are demanding accountability, and they're pointing at Omar as a symbol of rules for thee, not for me. If something like that were ever proven, it would be massive, because it's not politics, it's personal benefit to the system. If it's false, it still shows how badly credibility has been burned and how quickly the public assumes the worst when leaders never answer clean questions. Now listen to the next piece, because it moves from internet outrage to raw national messaging. Pay attention to the language being used and what he's trying to tie together.
Think of that Ilhan Omar. She lives in Somalia. They don't have a government, they don't have a military, they don't have police, they don't have anything. All they have is murder and robbing ships, bringing in ships, pirates. That's stopped. Same missile, ping. That's the end of them. It's amazing how that can stop corruption. Those missiles, they never miss, you know. The same one, exactly the same one. But think of it, she comes from a country with nothing, and she comes here and she tells us about our Constitution. I have a constitutional right to rip off the country. I guess she's a total scam artist. Anybody knows it. How do you let her get away with it? AOC +3. She was one of the three. They're all scammers. They're so bad for our country. They're so bad for our country.
Those are Trump's words as presented in your insert, and it's clearly political fire. He labels her a total scam artist. He lumps her with AOC +3, and he's framing this as a bigger pattern, not a one-off. That doesn't equal a charge, and it doesn't equal a judge signing anything. But it does matter because it signals what this fight is becoming. Immigration plus alleged fraud plus who is protected. When a former president speaks like that publicly, it puts a spotlight on the whole Minnesota ecosystem, activists, local officials, and anyone who looks like they benefited while taxpayers got played. Now we get to the longer segment you provided from YouTube, and this is where most of the receipts claims are coming from. I want you to focus on two separate moments. First, the policy clash, temporary protected status, sanctuary funding, and the allegation that fraud cases are sitting underneath it.
It is unfortunate that we are led by a president who does not understand the laws of this land. When the president tweets as if he has the authority to terminate temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota, Even little kids in 8th grade know that that is not an authority that the president has and can wield.
In that segment, you hear an argument that the White House can change or end protections. And you also hear reporting language about Somali-run child care centers accused of fraudulently taking federal funding, with denials mentioned too. That matters because it connects real-life policy to real-life consequences. If programs are being abused, the public is going to demand tighter enforcement, not weaker enforcement. And when politicians respond by trying to defund enforcement or shame enforcement, regular people here, they care more about the system than about you. That's the core anger. Paycheck families follow the rules, while well-connected networks allegedly treat the rules like a joke. Now stay with the second beat, because this is the part that triggers the judge headlines. Listen for the section about a verdict being wiped out and why the narrator says it shook confidence in Minnesota's ability to police fraud.
Our team continues to follow major news surrounding immigration in the United States. And just yesterday, we told you the Trump administration will halt funding to sanctuary cities and states. And it also announced the end of temporary protected status for Somalis. This comes after Somali-run child care centers in Minnesota were accused of fraudulently taking federal funding, something they've denied. Our ABC 10 News reporter Laura Acevedo shows us what this means for Somalis here in San Diego and across the country.
According to that same segment, there was a big reversal in a fraud case, and the judge threw out the jury's guilty verdict, even after a unanimous decision, with claims about Medicaid overbilling and specific dollar amounts. If that description is accurate, you can understand why people see it as the system protecting insiders. A jury hears evidence, the community speaks, and then a judge erases it. People instantly assume politics, connections, and pressure. But I'm going to be responsible here. The insert is making heavy allegations about motives and networks, and it's also mixing in a lot of commentary. The safe takeaway from what you've shown is this. The clip is alleging that Minnesota fraud enforcement is collapsing in courtrooms, and the public is losing patience with excuses. So where does that leave the headline claim? Judge orders Ilhan Omar arrest. In the material you gave me, I don't see an actual court document, a docket entry, a judge's order, or even a specific case number saying that happened. What I do see is the ecosystem that creates that kind of headline, viral accusations, national rhetoric, and a long commentary segment alleging judges and political circles are soft on fraud connected to certain communities and donors. If you want the truth standard that protects you from getting played, it's simple. Separate what's proven from what's performed. Proven is what a court files, what an agency charges, what a jury convicts, what a judge orders on paper. Performed is what people say on social media, what partisans shout at rallies, and what YouTube commentary stacks together into a narrative. Sometimes performed points towards something real. Sometimes it's just a machine feeding rage.
You know what's interesting about the Somalian deportation? They want to remove the protective order. The person they need to blame is Ilhan Omar, because basically she brought so much negative attention because she's so arrogant. And the problem that these people don't understand is gratitude. Because basically it would be like you inviting someone over for dinner and then them complaining about the food and then refusing to leave, saying, we're not going anywhere. It's so rude and gross. And you know what? Like, nobody cares about your cause. Everybody just wants you to leave because we're so sick of this entitled attitude to our taxpayer money. Again, you invite someone over and they're like, give me your paycheck. I'm not leaving. And by the way, your house is a mess. These people actually are crazy. But you know what? Just like everybody else, you're going to get out. And someone like me can't wait.
And I'll say this as plainly as possible. Nobody should get a free pass because of their last name, their district, their party, or their activist shield. If Minnesota really has massive fraud cases, then follow the money, prosecute the theft, and recover every dollar. If politicians are blocking enforcement while taxpayers are being ripped off, voters deserve to know exactly who did it and why. And if anyone is claiming a judge is ordering